today's podcast, we are hosting Brendon Pyne from the Lethbridge Fire Department Search and Water Rescue Team. We're going to go over some really cool things about prevention, safety on the water, things to do, things not to do. And we're going to talk about Brendon and his experience with the Lethbridge Fire Department.
Podcasting from Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. This is connecting your community, building community through unity. Getting things done takes activism, and Blaine Higgin and Mallory Christiansen have come together to share firsthand community voices, bringing awareness to community issues, watching how other communities handle like problems, and sharing their successes. Connecting your community. Here are your hosts, Blaine Higgin and Mallory Christiansen.
So today is going to be a really cool podcast. We've had a lot of requests coming in from local community members, not only within Lethbridge, but also throughout Southern Alberta, to bring someone from the Lethbridge Fire Department on to talk about water safety, talk about prevention, just talk about some things that maybe we need to have awareness about right now, especially with our river. So without further ado, I'm going to let this young man introduce himself and tell us a little bit about yourself, Brendon.
Hi, my name is Brendon Pyne. I'm senior firefighter with the Lethbridge Fire Department. I'm also the water rescue team lead. Been on the department for 13 years. I've been on the water rescue team for 10 years, and I've been a team lead for 9 years. In that time, I was also a diver for 7 years, 8 years.
So what does it mean to be a diver? Like, do you guys have to do extra training to be a diver on top of everything else?
That is one of the big jobs that is part of the water rescue team is diving. There's actually 3 components to the team. We do boat rescue, surface rescue, and dive recovery. Dive recovery because we can't get there in time.
I've seen you do some of the practicing on, I think on Henderson. I think I've seen some divers, right?
Yeah.
Out there?
Yep.
Okay.
You'll see us out there next week, actually. We're going to be doing a training day, most likely on Henderson, a dive day.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then you guys just got some new boats too.
We got 2 new boats.
Heard about these boats and heard that they're pretty spectacular. Do you want to can you share what kind of, and I know it might be a little bit off topic, but what's the difference about these boats than what you guys have previously had?
Just the Zodiac, it's an inflatable hard bottom boat that one isn't too much of an upgrade. Mm-hmm. It's just a more modern boat and a couple little seating differences that makes it easier for us to function on that boat. The real gem is the river boat.
I have heard, yes.
Our past one was just so old. It would break down all the time. It was a great boat, but it's just not geared towards our river. And this new boat that we have with the new drivetrain on it, it's more rugged and able to maneuver our river a lot better.
Oh, excellent.
That's good.
Excellent.
That's good.
So now being on this dive team, I'm really interesting on the different training that's involved, because diving even being in addition to the water training that you would have. What's that kind of taught you over time? I guess I'm asking this because I would think when you're looking for the unknown or the known that you're hoping you find, but there's got to be a part of you that's got to be, it's got to be a struggle when you're out there looking. What am I going to find, and how am I going to react to what I find? Is that
when I first got on the team as a diver? Yeah, there's a little bit of me. Do I really want to find this person that's been on the water for a certain amount of time, and what are they going to look like? What's it going to be? But once you've gone through it, you just develop that thick skin, for lack of a better term. So, you deal with it and you do your job. So,
and I think when it comes to that, and I don't want to use the term desensitize you, but you've got a job to do. It's an important role to do. You're out there to make a difference and to find those loved ones that have been lost. And so it's got to be quite a chore. And I tell you what, I don't know if I could do it. And I'm glad that there's people like yourself out there that are able to do that, because it's very important for families, for sure.
That's one of the best feelings about the job is bringing home a missing loved one. Yep. It's good to bring closure for those people. I can only imagine what they're going through as we're trying to be out there and do our job. But you can sense it. We get hugs, we get thank yous when we bring them home.
Right.
And you guys have done marvelous jobs, right? And especially being born and raised in this community, there's been a lot of rescues that you guys have done, and you've done an amazing job and a thorough job, right? So thank you for your service. Now, one of the things too is that the request that we had from so many community members was, we need to know about water safety. Right? Our Old Man River right now is fluctuating. It is high, and people are like, can I even be around the water right now? Should my kids be playing in the water? Can you give us your professional insight on what is safe right now in our river?
As of today, I would say don't go on the water. It's flowing so fast. We've had so much rain recently that it's just, you're not sure what debris is floating down the river. This isn't a normal flow for the river, what people are floating on and whatnot. So as of today, my suggestion is just stay away from the river. There's trees, there's other things floating down.
I noticed that. I was on the golf course at the country club here yesterday, and we had a look at how high the river was and what was going down there. You're right. There was branches, there was trees.
That's crazy.
It was amazing how high that is. Mm-hmm. And fast too. It's moving so quickly, right?
People they don't, until you get into that water, and when you're in a panic situation and you think, I can get myself over this, then all of a sudden it's too late.
Yeah. So here's a question too. Is it true that sure, everything might look nice on the top of the water, it might be flowing smoothly, but then underneath it is a whole different story. Like that's something that I really want to raise awareness, because my son, he's like, oh Mom, can I go on the river? Can I go play? Nope, absolutely not. Right. So can we talk about what happens underneath the surface that people don't see?
There's so many things. There's rocks that you can get your foot trapped in. There's branches. Around the bridge, we've been training around there and come across barbed wire fences.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness.
Lots of barbed wire tangled around the bridge pilings there that we've actually gone in and cut out while we were there training. And that's a popular place for kids to be swimming.
Exactly.
And so we try to clean it out if we're in that area, but we can't do it all the time.
You might not get it all.
Exactly.
Right. Yep. Jeez, so.
Okay, let's take a break. We're going to go back into some more awareness, some more prevention, some more safety measures that we can take just despite different levels of the water. So let's take a break now, and then we'll come back.
Sure.
This is Connecting Your Community with Blaine Higgin and Mallory Christiansen. We'll be right back after these messages.
There's a new art shop in town.
What?
Watercolors, acrylics, pastels, brushes, oils, canvas, and paper.
Oh, where?
It's new. The art room at Smith's Audio on 13th Street North.
For high performance sound.
And super art supplies.
Freddy's Paint is all about saving you time and money with quality Benjamin paint and our helpful design and paint professionals. Freddy's Paint, voted best of the best 20 years running.
Freddy's Paint and Details, 210 17th Street South.
Audio? Electronics? Try Smith's Audio, 13th Street North.
You need the best sound? Yeah, you gotta try Smith's.
Smith's Audio, 13th Street North. Electronics simplified.
And we're back with Brendon Pyne from Lethbridge Fire Department Search and Water Rescue Team. And, we've talked a little bit about even some of the stuff that happens underneath the water, which I would have never thought barbed wire was going to be underneath it. We need to talk about this stuff because, even when I was younger, I would jump on my float, I would go down, and it's not uncommon to see people drinking and floating. Yep. Tell me how safe that is. I mean, weather's getting hot and you're seeing a lot of people floating.
We strongly encourage leave the alcohol at home. Have a drink after when you're on dry land, but it dulls your senses. Just makes it harder when if you have to fight the current and try to swim. It's just not a good choice to be with you on the water. Yep.
Tell us about some prevention and safety measures that we can take with our kids.
With kids, especially the younger ones, if they've got a lower ability to swim, leave them in their PFDs.
What's a PFD, just in case?
Personal flotation device, life jacket. So many times people take it off. It's just going to be fine. I'll take it off this once. I'm just going to try this jump off the bridge or whatever. And it just takes one time.
You know what I've noticed as well, that there's a lot of adults. I see the children wearing their PFDs, but a lot of times the adults are not. Like, I'm okay, I've got my kids in it, but I'm okay not to wear one. But we've seen that that's not always the safest in some of the accidents that have happened in the past of adults. You think you can swim through that, and it's very difficult, and especially with some of the different what could happen, what's under there that we don't know about, right?
A lot of people get a little overconfident in their abilities, and we're trained for this with our surface rescue and our dive rescue. We're aware of the conditions of the water. We don't fully know the conditions of the water at all times, but we do train to be prepared for whatever we may encounter. Right. And the parents that are out there with their kids not wearing PFDs, my opinion is you're just being careless.
Absolutely. And there's so much that can happen. And I was actually even I think of, again, my son, and him and his dad go fishing down by the Old Man River, and it's beautiful, but you better believe he will still have a life jacket, even not going into the water, just because if something did happen, right? And yes, you can call me a helicopter mom, but it's a preventative measure.
She does bubble wrap their children.
Right? But for me, it's a preventative measure, because if something happened, right? My son's going in and he's throwing in his rod, and all of a sudden it's like, uh-oh, I fell in, right?
Yeah. And you never know.
For the fire department, when we're training or we're doing an operation in and around any body of water, we have a hot zone that we deem within so far from the shore. We all have a PFD on.
Wow, I didn't know that.
What's an interesting? So here's an interesting question for you. You're trained to do this. You're on the water. This is where you're doing your training. And have you ever been scared with what has happened in your training? And obviously, you know what you're doing out there, and this is what you're learning to be trained on. Is there times where you go, "Gosh, this is pretty scary out here"?
When I first got on the team, and some of the surface courses, you definitely is it safe to do, but then you put your trust in the instructors and the other team members, and you get through it. And then once we've done the training and you get through it, and I've done the training a number of times.
Then obviously you do start to pick up on, okay, this is okay. But this is someone with training. So again, we put somebody that is there floating down a few cocktails, no PFD.
Because they want to get tanned, right? They don't want the tan lines. That's a lot of reasons why my friends, no, we don't want the tan lines. Put a life jacket on. Yeah. Simple.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. So now I guess in closing, a question I have, let's bring this back to your job as a firefighter and as a paramedic. What are some of the positive things that you can share about being a paramedic for the time that you have, and a firefighter for the time you have, for those that are listening?
It's an amazing job. People thank us on a regular basis. Thanks for doing your job. It's my job. I love to do it. I show up for work every day because I love doing it.
When I was in elementary school, it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And what's probably one of the number one? I want to be a fireman or a policeman, right?
Yeah.
And so did you actually aspire to that?
Nope.
You didn't?
No, I don't even remember what I wanted to be when I was growing up.
But it wasn't a firefighter?
No, it wasn't a firefighter. I actually came across it just doing a career placement exam in college.
Oh, wow.
And number one was I was supposed to be a police officer.
Yeah.
Right.
Number two was firefighter, and three was psychologist or something. And I chose this, and getting into it, I've loved it ever since.
Rewarding.
That's amazing. One thing too is we've actually been talking a lot with first responders and mental health awareness. So have you ever been, and I know this might be deep, you can feel free to answer it or not, but have you ever been hit by an incident that is always going to be here?
Yep.
Yeah? How do you deal with it?
We've got great peer support on the fire department. We've got it at many different levels, and it's just the brotherhood.
That's awesome.
We talk to each other. The city, they're very good in supporting us. If we need to talk to counselors and whatnot, we've actually got a department counselor that we can speak with. And
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it's a positive thing to highlight just because we actually just went through a month of PTSD awareness, right? And we know that that's a real thing on the front line. Your career, police, we had a retired RCMP officer on here, frontline workers, and it's a real thing, right? So it makes us happy to know that you guys are happy with the brotherhood, the peer support, right? Because it's something that, mental health needs to be talked about, because even in the news, what we see, what you guys deal with, thank you. And we just really want to encourage that continual positive mental health and self-care and healing.
Yeah. It's long past now, I think, being the macho tough guy. I'm going to hold my feelings in. I'm not going to talk about what bothers me. And now we talk about it.
So even in your own experience, have you saw the shift? Because you've been on the fire department for how long?
13 years.
13 years. So when you first started, did you see the shift from like the old crew who's now kind of retired? I'm not saying old crew, but like, back in the day crew. Did you see a shift mentally for mental health awareness?
Yep, I've seen a shift for sure.
That's awesome.
And it's definitely for the positive.
And we did see that in talking to Kate. Rigaud,
great studies going on.
That there's more coming out, and mental health is such an important thing to be dealing with. And it was always that I'm going to strong. I can't show emotions. I'm going to continue forward and take that into their personal lives, back to families and stuff. And so, no, that's important. It's an extremely important part of the job, is to make sure that the mental health is dealt with. And so I'm glad to see that this has changed. I'm super excited to know that there's the services that are available, and how we can always do better, I guess, out there, right?
Yeah.
The city's been very good about it. Our administration is very good. Even the IAFF Local 237, our union, they've brought stuff in for us as well. So it's many different layers that we're allowed to
marvelous.
Be taken care of.
Good stuff. So now we did, and just before we close, because we focused on when not to go on the water. When is, just because we know people they want to get excited, they want to go on the water. When is a good time to go on the water down at the river?
Once it starts slowing down a little bit, you'll see the color change in the water. It'll go from that murky brown that's kind of flowing right now. It'll start to clear up a little bit and look a little cleaner. That's when you can start thinking of getting on the water. And when you are going to get on the water, some of the things that you should be doing and preparing for are file a float plan with a loved one, so that they know where you're going to be putting in, where you're going to pull out, and how long you expect that to take. You should take a pair of water shoes or something in case your flotation device leaks or whatnot, that you have to get out and walk through the woods. No alcohol, as we've said. Inspect your floaty before you get in there and make sure that it is going to hold air for the trip.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, can you imagine being halfway through and everything's just falling apart?
So now, if I wanted to go out here in a couple of weeks and I wanted to float down the river, what's best for me to do? Who do I contact to find out if it's safe?
Call 311 and hopefully they'll have some information for you. Even if you don't know who to call, try calling one of the fire stations. There's water rescue team members at all stations, and they can give you some advice as well.
I know how much I like floating down the river. It's fantastic. But you know what? Let's do it in a safe way.
Exactly.
And with that, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to Connecting Your Community with Blaine Higgin and Mallory Christiansen. Join us next time as we continue to discuss community topics and how all of us together can make a difference. Remember, there is no community without unity.